The first order of business is to elect a chairperson for this meeting.
I would like to nominate Carrie Durr as our chairperson.
Second. All in favor of me to chair this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carries. The purpose of this special meeting is to authorize the school board to enter into a lease agreement for J.E. Jones Elementary located at 5845 South Swift Avenue in Cudahy, Wisconsin, which is not currently needed for school district purposes as permitted under Wisconsin statute 120.1012. I call upon the Superintendent Garvin to outline the proposal.
Thank you, President Durr. I want to share just several details of the proposal. First of all, I want to share that the leasee is the Richardson School LLC. They're a Wisconsin limited liability company, and some of you know them as MyCaps. The length of the lease is 5 years. The rent amount currently, I'm going to give you an estimate. We are currently talking with them at $17,667. We're working with them because there are some services they will be contracting from us within the building. So when you look at the approval of the lease, you'll see those specifics. And Brian Dasher is currently working with them on that, along with Matt Billmeyer, our facilities director. And the most important thing is to remember that this property is currently not needed for school purposes.
I now open the floor for questions and discussions from the electors of the district.
For any of us?
Yes?
So, hi, Skip J.G.'s 2636 East Eaton Lane. I think you can hear me, can't you?
Yeah.
I'm just curious how you came up with the $17,000, and did bids actually go out for the building to find other people, or how did the process work, I guess?
That's a great question. I'm going to defer to Brian Dasher, our Director of Business Services, and he's happy to answer that question for you.
Oh, okay.
The company that's leasing, that's proposing to lease the property is actually a company that we've been working with, called the Richardson School. We contract with them to provide services, special education services to some of our highest need students. They approached us when they learned that we were closing the school, and they asked about what would it take for them to lease the building. They're currently leasing a building in the Waukesha School District, or West Allis?
West Allis.
West Allis School District. That lease is coming due, and that school district doesn't want to renew with them, and so they approached us. They're looking to try to get a location here in the south suburban Milwaukee area. And so we started into talks with them. We did not go out to bid. We did not see, we haven't put it on the market for sale, and we haven't approached anybody else to lease it because this was actually, in our view, the perfect tenant for that building. It was another quasi school, and it was a company that we work with that we have our own students at as well.
If I could piggyback on that, also one of the things that we talked about with the board, we do not anticipate enrollment increasing, unfortunately. We've looked at several population studies projecting out, and so we
You're talking about Cudahy?
Correct.
Okay.
And so when we thought about what to do with the building as part of our reconfiguration studies, we thought it was an ideal situation to lease the building to someone that we currently work with. And so with a 5-year lease, when we're looking at projections again in 5 years, that building would still be part of our school district, and then if we needed to use it again, that would be open for us to look at that again.
So how many children do you think are gonna come from outside the school district to be part of that school?
I could get those numbers for you. Currently, the Richardson School, depending on their locations, I believe they have 5 or 6 different locations throughout the state. I know that when we mentioned this in our superintendent group, many of the districts along the South Shore already currently send students to them out in the West Dallas location. They were very excited that there would be something a little bit closer to home. And so typically it depends on what the students' needs are. And so to anticipate how many are going to come here would depend on the location. So I could anticipate more students from this side of town coming here because of the location, whereas they may not have made that choice because it was a little further away. They have locations, isn't there one in Appleton? Madison area, might be up in Green Bay, so it all depends on where the location is. And I know when they were losing their lease, I think it was because West Dallas is really a booming area, and they're turning some of those properties into different types of buildings. They were really looking at exploring areas where they're having a lot of student need, and this is really an area along the South Shore that has a lot of student need.
I think we have to stress too, this is not a competing school, they're not taking students away from us. I know, but just so that people know, it's not somebody that takes students away from us, it's somebody that we work with, for the students with the highest needs.
Right.
So it's not like a voucher school, I just wanted to,
No.
make sure people understood that.
I'm well aware of Richardson.
Okay.
And I know most of the kids that go there, a lot of them are bused in, or special needs vans and all that other kind of stuff. I know this is kind of going out, because I don't know when you're even talking about renting it or leasing it, but you're gonna need some space there like you do at, the one over here, I'm thinking of it. There's gonna be a lot of buses, okay? I used to drive for special needs, okay? And that was one of the schools I stopped at, and I knew how many vans, I mean, you're talking about, depending on the type of dismissal they have, you're talking about sometimes 15, 20 vans being there all at one time. And just so you're aware of that, okay? So, so you don't know how many, because the school right now that's there in West Dallas, from when I drove, there were pretty many kids in the school. So I'm just curious as to why I said how many would be coming in here, and would the district be prepared for all of that? Are they looking at taking over the whole school?
They are not, and that's a number that we could probably get for you. They're currently looking at bringing two different types of, two of their vendors into that building, and they're not going to be using currently the second level. They're going to be just using the first level. And so that would be, I am assuming it would be a smaller population than we currently have in the building right now. And so we would be able to look through the population numbers, and we would be able to provide some information. But I hear what your concern is, to make sure that we can not only take care of the transportation, but make sure that there's not too much traffic out there.
We do have representatives from the Richardson School online that could probably answer that question really quick for us. Mike Rollins, could you promote him to?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very almost.
So I would expect a similar number.
Can you repeat that?
Not all of those students would transfer over, but we're hoping that a good amount of them do day one.
Could you repeat that, Mike? We got the first part cut out.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, our current census at West Dallas is between 37 and 41 students. We do expect that a fair number of them will transfer over to Cudahy, but not all of them. But then there'll be an opportunity for other students at, West Dallas or Brookfield locations are too far away, that would be excited for our location in Cudahy and could potentially come to our school.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Okay, I will now accept a motion to authorize the school board to lease the property.
I move that the school district electors of School District of Cudahy authorize the school board to lease J.E. Jones Elementary to My Path for a period of 5 years for the purpose of the Richardson School under the terms discussed.
Okay. We will now vote on the motion. All in favor of authorizing the lease, please raise your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand or say no. The motion passes. Did we count the votes? Amanda?
I did.
Okay, what is the, no?
I only saw the board raise their hand. So that's
You know that you had a vote in this, correct?
Oh, that's okay.
I
I agree with it.
You're okay? Okay. Well, then a motion of 7-0. I will accept a motion to adjourn with this meeting. Motion made by Mike Johnson, seconded by Jim Capala. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Well, we now have about 15 minutes before the next meeting starts, and I believe we have, for those of you that don't know, all of the school board members in one capacity or another attended the Wisconsin Association for School Board Convention this week, and along with some of our other administrators, to learn about, to enhance knowledge and get some professional development on different things going on in the world of education. So instead of taking up a big chunk during the meeting, because we know meetings can tend to be a little longer, we thought we'd add it on to this 15 minutes and just be able to talk about some of the things, some of the sessions that we attended and some of the things that we learned. So who would like to start?
I'm happy to start.
Okay.
So as the newest board member, this was my first convention, and it was great. I really enjoyed the whole process, honestly. So not only the sessions, but also the keynote speakers, the networking opportunities, just meeting board members from all over the state, that are part of WASB, and actually just spending time with the board members too. It was nice to get out and do something outside of all of this. So, I attended a lot of curriculum-focused sessions. I wanted to do things that weren't my day job, so I did one AI session, but I kind of stayed out of the technology stuff because I do that all day and I know about that stuff. So I really wanted to learn more about educational stuff. So a lot of data-focused sessions, or a few, I should say. Did an interesting one with Pewaukee. They use AI very heavily in their district, so they went over some of their use cases for staff reviews and a couple other things. They shared some of their best practices, and a few other tidbits, on how they're using AI within the district, which was very interesting. Second one I liked was the Swallows. Is that just the school or district? School district. Yeah. Okay. So that was it was all about math and what they're doing with their math curriculum, and how they assess kids, how they're it's a little more flexible, I'll say, and less rigid. I mean, they have two teachers, that are teaching that curriculum, so they can be. But they've had great measurable success with increasing or showing growth, not just increasing scores or showing a higher overall score, but showing upward trends in all of their math scores as a result of what they're doing. So those are just kind of two of the ones that I really enjoyed amongst all the other ones. So yeah, I had a great time. It was a good opportunity. So thank you.
Okay. Who'd like to go next? All right, Chris. There you go.
So one of the things I had attended, piggybacking off of what Justin has said, is one of the things that I love was the long-term planning for operations in facilities that you see. And what we can do to make the buildings more efficient, and especially when it comes to around like utilities. So there's a grant out there, which I will mention it to Brian and Matt. It's called the IRA grant. It's a lot more around solar panels, so that might be an opportunity for us. The other thing is, we have a lot of conversations around referendums, and referendums are not going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately. But what we can do is bring them down, so that way it's more appealable to everybody. And hopefully maybe we can make it go away. But that's That's all dependent on how we do our program. The other thing I had also, attended was, training in board excellence and continuous improvement. And, working alongside with the transparency to the community and, annual review to the superintendent. And a lot of the other tools that come into play as well, like EVDT, which is another acronym for Annual Board Development Tool. And it's board for board, not for the superintendent or anything. So this helps us as a board to continue what we're doing and to make sure that we're all on the right track. Well, I will stop there and let somebody else pick it up.
Who wants to go next?
Doesn't matter to me.
Everyone gets a chance.
I attended 3 sessions that are probably all worth highlighting. The first one, kind of piggybacking on you, Chris, was on student-led green teams, and it was through the Wisconsin Focus on Energy, which for those people listening who have gone to State Fair, there's that like whole zone of State Fair where they talk about and create educational experiences for kids on energy conservation. So what is really interesting about this Green Team program, it's all grant funded, and students apply for grants where they get a Green Team toolkit, so they get all these energy saving devices through that grant, and then track their progress, how much energy they've saved. So it's really educational, and it saves money, and it is conservation. And then there's a couple other programs that they talked about. One through University of Stevens Point, called Renew Our Schools. That's a competition, so schools can compete against each other to see who can save the most energy. There are some free hands-on kits, and I can share those with any interested teachers or individuals who would want to start a green team. So they kind of shared some success stories. Chippewa Falls High School has a really successful green team that applies for grants consistently, and they were awarded, like $50,000 grants. Kind of launched this whole endeavor that they were inspired by these smaller grants through the green teams. That was one. The other 2 I attended were big. One on the ethics and implications of AI use. There were, by my count, Carrie was with me at this one, 5 University of Madison professors leading the kind of like mini discussions on how they have observed AI use for college students. And then Dr. Thompson also spoke for Neola about policy. So he is our policy rep. He talked about permitted uses, not permitted uses, so permitted uses, obviously drafting non-confidential communication and research versus a non-permitted use would be making personal decisions or student grading or entering student information into it. So that was helpful, but then the speakers kind of went through the different ethical reasons why we would question using AI for everything, but then also how we should be asking students to use AI at the middle and high school level seemed to be the focus. They had lots of really good concrete ideas, which Carrie can add to this one. But then the other big one that I attended was Who's Telling Your Story? So it was the Horton superintendent and then a CISA 6 rep who talked about, like, if you're not telling your story, someone else will tell your story. So Horton had a situation where they had a successful referendum. They actually have increasing enrollment. And their team was giving information to social media and celebrating students and activities in sports. It kind of reminded me of a little bit where we're at. All was really good, everything was a celebration, but they were dependent on social media and everything was not strategic, it was a reactive communication, reacting to like student successes or to what information people need. So they went through what the CISA 6 rep provided for them as far as training and understanding of communication techniques, and they started a community newsletter that went out 3 or 4 times a year, strategic strategically before certain, like before the release of report cards or before, various other things. They really dug into the data on their website and traffic on their website. And after everything, they had strategic communication, a newsletter that was on Instagram and Facebook, but also sent out. They had 500% more engagement with their social media posts. They reorganized their website to kind of like create landing pages that people were looking for. So they looked at that data. And the superintendent really emphasized this newsletter, which then people of course had follow-up questions about how much this costs, because it's very costly to send out a newsletter to every doorstep. They were really invested in making sure that they could do that in order to reach people who don't have children in the district. And then at the end of the whole session, they said, you know, here's a framework of questions that you can ask yourself as you try to create better communication. And the whole point was really trying to tell your story through the lens of students, through the lens of families, and not just reactive communication, but strategic. And the focus was on informing, not just reporting. I liked that idea too. So that one was great.
Rhonda, you want to go next?
So much of my, or some of my convention time was through the delegate assembly, which will be discussed later in the meeting. But I did attend a couple sessions. One session was regarding Watertown Unified School District and the way they did building a data-informed student-driven district. So that was a good session to be able to see how they worked with program or access to WiseDash Local. And based on how you set up, this was a couple-year implementation for them. But it gave people in the district the right access so that they can help